What we want to talk about in this video is the duotone function. Duotones are generally used with spot colors when we want to make an image look prettier than it being just one color. Let's say we've got black and burgundy. And instead of it being a pure black and white photograph or an all burgundy photograph, it was a picture of a person, that might not be very appealing. And so we can combine the two spot colors together in one file and make an image that is still only using the two colors, but is simply more interesting and appealing than a one color. The first thing we have to do is we have to switch to the duotone mode, and notice that it's not available at this point. It's a relative of the grayscale image. So the first thing we have to do is go to grayscale. Okay, and we can see that, as always, when we have a grayscale image, we only have a one-channel image. You're going to notice that even when we go to a duotone, which has two colors, it is still only going to be a single grayscale channel file. And it also, while I'm thinking of it, one of the two occasions when a file in Photoshop needs to be saved as an EPS, a raster EPS, and not as the standard TIFF image, so that it retains the duotone information, especially at the print shop, for separating the information into the two component colors. So here I've got a black and white or grayscale image, and now when we go to mode, duotone is lit up, or is a option for me to pick. So I'll go ahead and go to that. Now there are monotones, or one color images that we can create in Photoshop. Typically we do that in our page layout program. We'll just save it as a grayscale TIFF and not mess around with tagging it as a single spot color here in Photoshop. But here we go to duotones, and notice there are also tritones and quadtones. Here's the duotone, and it will involve two colors. Now we have two components for each of the colors. We have the actual color itself. In this case it's defaulted to black and white, but we'll change that by clicking here. It will take me to the color picker, as typically it does, and there we have it. And we can pick a CMYK or an RGB color, but typically we are wanting to use spot colors. So we have to click the Color Libraries button to access the spot color Pantone colors. So I'll click that, and it took me directly to the Pantone Solid Coated. And you see we have many different color palettes, but in this case we're going to pick the standard Pantone Solid Coated colors. And there we have it. And I can simply type in, even though there's not actually a place to type in and fill in the number we want, we can simply type the number that we want. And so I'm going to pick the FSU color 201, which is a burgundy color, and I say OK. The second component to each color is this little square with the line. These are called curves. This adjusts the tonal range of where the color is in the image. And so we can click on this, and we'll probably have a separate video that deals with levels and curves, adjusting the tonal range of an image. But I can click on this, and it brings up this window. And by playing with this curve, you can see it changes the intensity of the color and how much color is in the image and where in the image it is. Because one end of this curve represents the dark tones, the other end of the curve represents the light tones, and here in the middle are the mid tones. So at the moment I'm going to just leave this as it is. And then on the second color I'm going to click this, and in fact I want black. We're going to keep it fairly simple and we'll use black. So what I have is a two-color image, and in this case it's looking pretty dark and not all that appealing at this point, but we're going to fix that. The other thing that this brings up is a set of tools that have been in Photoshop for a long time, and that's the load and save setting buttons. We can save any setting wherever we see the load and save buttons. These work together with presets. Presets are saved little pieces of information that tell the dialog box what to do. So I could save this particular setup and then load this setup into another file to duplicate it very quickly. In this case, I want to load some that have already been saved. They've been saved by Photoshop. So I'm going to show you there's a bunch of presets saved in the Photoshop folder. So I'm going to click this load button right here, and then I'm going to go to my applications. I'm going to go to the Photoshop folder, and then here I have a folder in here called presets. And so I'll double click that, and actually there are a lot of things here that you can utilize. You can import custom shapes into the custom shapes dialog boxes. We have a number of brushes. We have a bunch of gradients that are already created for us that we can load in the gradients dialog box. In this case we want the Duotones. Here it is, right here. And so I'm going to double click this. Here we see Duotones, tritones, 3 colors, and quad tones. But again, we'll stick with the Duotones for the moment. And I'm going to go and pick, here they are, the Pantone spot color Duotones. There are also some gray and black for doing beautiful, rich black and white photographs, like Ansel Adams photographs for a coffee table book. We might use some Duotones done with grays and black, as well as there are process color Duotones. So here I'm going to use the Pantones, and what they have done is they have sampled some of the Pantone spot colors, not all of them, but a handful of them, and they've done with black. And so we see 4 different versions for each of the colors, in this case 5. And what they've got is different curves of the 2 colors with black and, in this case, 144 orange. I'm going to drop down to some that I know they already have, which is 506, PMS 506 Burgundy. And here are 4 different versions. Here's the first version, and notice that the curves are not just straight lines, they're a little bit different here. And here is what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to load to try to quickly cover this. I'm going to load, and I'm going to go to the second one. And I suspect it will change how it looks. So load the second one, and notice it's darker. It's got more burgundy, or more black, I guess it is. And then let me say load again, and we'll pick the third one, 1, 2, 3, and load this one. And again, it's a little bit muddy to me, and so I'm going to go down to the last one, see if I like it. Not really. So I'm going to go back to the very first one. It was the brightest of the bunch, and you can see it's much more red. And in this case, I'm going to substitute the FSU color, which is 201, not 506. So I'm going to use their curves, but I'm going to use the color that I want. So I'll click on this, I'll pick 201, and using their curves in this particular case, but using my colors of black and PMS 201, I have a very pleasing looking duotone. And again, I could try all of them that were here in the load buttons. I could try all of these, and in any of them substitute another color and see how it looks. In this case, I think it's okay, and we need to save this image as an EPS, a Photoshop EPS, if I want it to retain this information for output, for professional high resolution output. And then I would say save. And here is my duotone, and we're ready to go.